Okay, guys, welcome to another episode of the Blues Brothers podcast, the show that discusses all things football and particularly Chelsea FC with lots of debates, deliberations and questions made by the fans for the fans. And this week, I'm delighted to be joined by writer from Football London, massive Chelsea fan, and the man behind the Carefree Youth Twitter account, Scott Clayton. Scott, thanks so much for joining me, mate. Really appreciate it. How you doing?
I'm really good. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, it's a pleasure to join you, and let's get cracking.
Yeah, 100%, mate. It's great to have you here. I'd like to start off the podcast with the same question for all the guests. Why Chelsea for you? What's the story behind yourself following the club?
Well, you probably can tell by my accent, I'm not down south. I have got the Mancunian type of accent. I live in Widnes now. Why I support Chelsea? I started supporting Chelsea back when Mark Hughes went from United to Chelsea around that time. It was a really random one. I was supporting. I didn't have really a club. I was about 8 or 9. Hughes went to Chelsea, and it was kind of, right, I'm going to start supporting Chelsea. So I went into school, and all the United fans were saying, why are you wearing a Chelsea shirt and all this? And it just stuck, and that's why. So I was a Northern fan supporting Chelsea before Roman Abramovich took over, which was strange for people around where I was living, but it was good for me because Chelsea had a really good history of beating United back then. So it was a fun time.
Yeah, no, 100%. And then obviously there's been some great times since Roman's come in, and we're still enjoying those now. And before we get into a bit more of Chelsea, I just wanted to get your thoughts briefly on what do you make of the decision for the Premier League to carry on and push through with these festive fixtures, the Boxing Day ones, and obviously the ones kind of on the 28th and the 29th. Obviously, the clubs met yesterday. There was a lot of thought that they could postpone that round of fixtures and then pick it up again in the new year for the FA Cup third round. We saw 6 games postponed this past weekend, and obviously I went up to Wolverhampton to watch Chelsea on Sunday, and as fans, we had no idea on our way out to the game whether it was happening, whether it wasn't happening. Kind of kept in the dark big time, and the club obviously had a request rejected, which I find very strange. There's no clarity from the Premier League. They don't come out and say why that's been rejected. The first team to play with 7 positive COVID cases in the camp. No one else has done that. So there doesn't seem to be any clarity on the rules. I mean, what did you make of one? We'll start with, what did you make of the club's request on Sunday for the game to be postponed being rejected?
I don't like it. As you say, I travelled from up here all the way down south to watch Chelsea-Everton. On Thursday as well, so I kind of knew what was what on Wednesday night, and I was and ahhing of travelling 3 hours on the train to get there to find out it would probably be cancelled, but it didn't get cancelled. So I obviously went, but I know we're in a pandemic, and us fans who were actually going to these games are going to games thinking I could be travelling and then read a tweet saying the game's been cancelled, and then you've just wasted so many hours. Traveling, you've also risked yourself of getting COVID and spreading it, and the numbers just keep going up, don't they, in the Chelsea camp? It's not like we've got a hand of it and we're stopping this. Every day there seems to be another player getting it, and last weekend's fixture run just showed that it shouldn't really be continuing because we're getting too many teams' matches getting cancelled anyway. And we're playing with a depleted squad anyway. I know we've got a lot of fixtures that we probably, as a club, we don't want to have fixtures put back because we're already in a tight schedule as it is. And Chelsea looking for where they could play these fixtures. We probably have to play every 2 days instead of every 3 or 4 days. So it would be a hard thing for Chelsea. But at the same time, health risks and things like that, it shouldn't really be going on in my opinion, because we've got to look out for everybody's health and safety, really, haven't we? Because, yes, we all love football, but at the same time, we don't like watching Chelsea play with a half, let's say, half of our team who would probably start and give us that extra are missing. And that just kind of takes away the fun of watching Chelsea when you can't put out your best team. Then everybody's got excuses, haven't they, as well? Come the end of the season, we could say, yes, we didn't play for XYZ games with all of our attacking players. It's just not good in my opinion. No. What about
Yeah,
yourself?
I agree. I just think it's as I touched on, the fact there's no clarity. There's like the Premier League just kind of do what they want to do, and then they're quite happy to just leave fans in the dark, like sweating on it until they get to the game. And like you see, like Aston Villa against Burnley, called off 2 hours before kickoff. Like you can't be in a position like that where there's no regard for the travelling fans. End of the day, the game's nothing without the fans, and there doesn't seem to be any regard for them. And it almost feels like it's a bit of a money spinning thing. You know, the Boxing Day fixtures, obviously massive crowds. It will bring in a lot of money for the league. And they obviously can't bear to cancel that. I know obviously the clubs probably, I mean, you have to get a majority. I think it's 14 out of the 20 have to agree on something for a decision to go through. So there's obviously 14 clubs in that meeting yesterday that agreed for this to happen. So, but when you go to a club vote though, like it's so agendaized because, you know, if you've got no COVID cases or very few COVID cases, and you've got very few players out, you're going to want to carry on. But if you're like a team struggling, exactly. If you're struggling, like I know we're not as Chelsea fans, we don't like Leeds that much, but Leeds had to put a 15-year-old on the bench against Arsenal yesterday. On Saturday night. How is that fair? So like teams are going to have agendas. So like it's gone through, but yeah, for me it's not right. And you know, Chelsea are going to have we got Aston Villa on Boxing Day. We would have played Wolves on Sunday. This Brentford game in the week, which we'll get onto shortly, which is probably going to be heavily rotated side with a lot of youngsters involved potentially. And then Aston Villa on Boxing Day. We would have played 3 games in 7 days, and Aston Villa wouldn't have played for 11 days. It's not really fair, but you know, it's the way it is at the moment, and I guess you just have to deal with it. But moving forward, this season's got so far for Chelsea. I mean, it all started so well. You know, we were top of the table. Obviously, that loss to West Ham then saw us drop down. And it seems to be the regular thing. Under Lampard last season, we were doing pretty well. I think we were top heading into December, and then the wheels fell off and it all went wrong. I mean, I don't want to be doom and gloom, but with COVID as well, with injuries, but even besides that, before all that had happened, the form was dipping and the performances were really poor. They've not really picked up since then. I mean, are you concerned that each time we get to around Christmas, why do you think the wheels keep falling off? And why do you feel we're suddenly struggling now?
Good question. Yeah, it's a strange one. It's not just even last season where we've kind of dipped in December. I think we all remember that one because Lampard obviously had his job cut then in January. That we remember it being a bit of a dip. But I remember back in Carlo Ancelotti days and Ranieri, December kind of November, December time, we always seem to dip. I don't know what it is about these months. It just seems to be the winter blues, and Chelsea just seems to not pick up points. But it's not good when you're trying to challenge for a trophy. The Premier League, is it, that you have these type of months, because we were sitting top of the league and it all looked pretty, didn't it? And then in the space of, is it 5 league games? I think we've had 4 or 5 games, and we've picked up 3 points once against Watford, and we've dropped points against teams where we'd expect to potentially win most of them. And yes, you expect to slip up here and there, but the way we've been playing, and even the game against Everton, the first half I thought, we could easily win this, and we could be 2-0 up at half time, and then the second half we didn't look like we were ever going to score, and luckily we did, and then we got pegged back. But I don't know what it is about these months. I really don't know. I wish I could point out what it is and why we always do this, because if we could stop this happening, we could be still challenging for the title, couldn't we? And it's not going to get any easier, is it? Because after this Aston Villa and Brighton game, then we've got the likes of Liverpool, City, Tottenham, without Mendy potentially. It's not looking like we're going to get an easier run of fixtures to kind of pick up form. If you get what I mean. Even if we get 2 good wins out of Aston Villa and Brighton, then we've got them really tricky fixtures. But at the same time, if we get good results against them types of teams, that could stick us right back in there. So there's a positive where we've been playing a bit poor and things like that, but hopefully players will be back by then that are out now, and we can really just kick on and really get back into the run of things.
Yeah, well, at least next December with the World Cup, we can't play any matches. So at least next year we won't have to worry about the December blues. But that's a plus. But yeah, to be honest, against the bigger sides, I don't think we've actually struggled that much this season. I was at the game when we played Man City at Stamford Bridge, and admittedly they played us off the park that day. But generally speaking, against the sides in and around us, we do pretty well. It's been against the sides that you'd expect to beat, particularly at home, where we've just been really poor. Like Everton, Burnley, Man United, 3 costly draws. Even if we turned 2 of those, even if we should have beaten Everton, we should have beaten Burnley. That's an extra 4 points. And we're only sitting 2 points off Man City. It's such fine margins. I mean, what do you feel is differed then? I mean, obviously injuries have played a big part, but why do you feel that we've gone from kind of being defensively solid? I know we got our first clean sheet in 7 games against Wolves on the weekend just gone, but, letting a lot of goals in, silly mistakes at the back. I mean, what do you think the reasoning is behind that perhaps creeping in? Because it's so un-Chelsea-like under Tuchel. We've not been used to it at all.
Yeah, I think the fact we've not had Kante for them 7 games, I know it's easy to say because we've not really had him fully fit and playing every week anyway, all the time. For the last season or 2, we've never had him really just playing week in, week out like we would like to. But him just being back in the side just give us that energy and that shield in front of the defence, which I liked. So that's a massive plus, and that's probably one of the small reasons why we did keep a clean sheet against Wolves was his defending and his shielding that he does. I think Chilwell missing is a massive loss too, because I think it just knocks onto everybody around him. It makes Rudiger then have to kind of cover Alonso. I'm not picking on Alonso, but it just makes the whole defence kind of move and shift. And when players are starting to get question marks in the head and starting to worry, it felt like that back 5 completely trusted Mendy just before all of this, and there was no worries. And then we had that West Ham kind of slip up where he didn't look himself. And I think then the little question marks come into heads where players start thinking, do I have to cover him? Do I have to cover him? Instead of thinking, oh, Mendy's behind us, he's going to save whatever comes with us. I think that's a massive. What's been happening is once you start getting a bit of low in confidence and people start to question each other, I think it then starts to worry the whole squad. And when you usually would see out a win, wouldn't we? We would get 1-0 up and you'd think, oh, we're just gonna carry this on and we'll get the 1-0 win. But now when a team starts to attack us, I think a lot of defenders are then starting to think, right, I've got to cover, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. And they're running about and moving out of positions and things like that. And I think that's slowly where we've just seen a little bit of teams just taking advantage of us. And I think we have been playing this formation and this system for a good year now, that I think a lot of teams are just slowly finding out where our weak points are. Not that we can't play this system and keep winning kind of thing, but when you're missing a few key players, it kind of shows. And we did sign Lukaku to play this role to beat these low blocks. And as you say, we're playing these teams where we should easily win. And if we probably had Lukaku up front, would we probably get the 3 points by him just being a big bully up front, and we just lump it up to him and he'll probably score? Right now, we're lumping the ball forward and we've got it onto Pulisic or somebody like that, and it's not going to stick and things like that. And you've got to change the way you kind of play your football a little bit, haven't you? When you've got Mount, Ziyech and Pulisic up front, it's a completely different thing to playing Lukaku, Werner and Havertz kind of thing. The way you play, the way you can lump a ball forward, you can knock it down, and you can have a runner behind and things like that. So I think it is a bit of personnel as well. Just the not having all 3 forwards, as I say, that's
big blow,
a massive. When we do get one of them chances, I'm worried that are we actually going to finish them? I think that first half against Everton just proved it, and I think Pulisic actually had a really good shot against Wolves. I think he
had a good opportunity,
but that's the only chance I can really remember that we had all game, and that's not good enough to beat the team. I don't think City or Liverpool will go to Wolves and only have one chance.
We had one shot on goal, and it was that Pulisic effort. One. I mean, Wolves is a hard place to go at the best of times. And you would take a draw there, but obviously in a circumstance we couldn't really afford to be dropping more points. And, it is 2 wins in our last 7. And whatever way you look at it, injuries or not injuries and whatnot, that's not good enough. It isn't. But, I did on the system, obviously, when Kovacic come on at the weekend against Wolves, there was a slight switch in the system where I think we went back to that 3 in the middle, and then Mount and Pulisic kind of operated as twin strikers. I know that was about for 15 minutes, and we didn't really see if it would work or not, but we have seen that before. We went second half, we went Matt, Lukaku, Werner up top against Spurs away. We saw that from the off against Manchester City as well. I mean, do you feel, I certainly feel that, once we've been playing the system for almost a year now, since Tuchel, come January, Tuchel would have been here for a year. We've been using it for the best part of a year. Do you feel that we're a little bit one-dimensional, perhaps? I don't want to be too critical of the side because we've done so well, but do you feel perhaps slightly one-dimensional when a game needs something a bit different and it's not working? Do you feel that we mix it up enough? Because I'm starting to think that perhaps we don't.
Yeah, I do like it when we had everybody fit. I think we was kind of mixing it up a little bit. There was times where he would play Lukaku and Werner up front and play somebody just behind him, and I thought that would work. But sadly, we can't. We've not been able to do that since Malmo, really, have we? We've not been able to have both of them, a Werner and Lukaku, or a Werner and Havertz, kind of 2 up front. That I think it's kind of cut Tuchel's arm off a little bit, where he can't really switch it up because he's not got the personnel to do it. I do think we play this formation to suit a lot of players in our squad. There's the likes of Azpilicueta. I think he's a very good right centre back. If you put him in a back 4, I think you find it very hard to get him into the system. I think if you play Alonso at left back, you struggle. I think the defenders, there's a lot of players that I think are very, very good defenders, but if you put them in a back 2, I'm kind of a little bit worried. I think you need then somebody to hold in front of them, and then is Jorginho in this role where he's playing right now is perfect. Put him in just in front of the back 4 in a Premier League team, and it doesn't work as much as it did in Italy, where he could really just dictate the play. I think in this system now with a back 3, he can dictate the play, and he's not got to worry of if they tackle him, they're on, the team is on, like kind of thing, with the wing backs pushing up. So I think the formation kind of has to be this formation with the players that we've got at the moment, which is a bit sad. But I think over time, I think Tuchel will try and change it. And I think summertime, if Rudiger does leave and we haven't got a left-sided centre back, maybe we will try and go to a back 4, and he goes and buys a midfielder that can just cover the midfield. But right now, with Kante always being an injury doubt, Kovacic, he can't really sit and make sure everything is all right. That's not really his game. And I don't think it's Jorginho's. I think, yes, we all when he signed, we was all saying he's a register and all this, but in the Premier League and the way we play now, I think it kind of doesn't suit him. I think what we're doing right now suits him more, where he's got that cover and he can do what he can do. So I think the formation has to stay, but I do think if Tuchel has his Lukaku and Werner and Havertz, I do think we will change it up a little bit. But I do agree we are a bit one-dimensional, and sometimes we could switch it up, and we haven't. Which will probably change. I think when he just came and we was playing against Wolves the first time, we was all a bit shocked, and I felt like he was changing it, and everybody was shocked. I think now everybody knows what we're going to do. So a change in formation, I have suggested this to friends. A change in formation might work, but at the same time, then I looked at it and I thought, if I go to a back 4, am I confident of Alonso playing wing back, full back, and who am I picking as the back 2? And does that then help Thiago Silva as the back 2? And do you know what I mean? You're adding players, you're adding circles in square pegs kind of thing, and then does the formation even work if you change?
Yeah, well, this is it. To be honest, I do think that Tuchel kind of went with this formation because, not necessarily because he wanted to, but it's the one that best suits the players we've got. Yeah. Because, as you've touched on, I mean, we've seen Rudiger in a back 4 at Chelsea before under Conte and other managers. Not that great. Yeah. For me, the reason why, obviously, Thiago Silva is a world-class footballer, but I think one of the main reasons why it's looked so good is because it's been in the back three.
Yeah.
So that if something does go wrong, there's two to cover him.
Yeah.
Whereas there's not really there's no hiding place in the back four.
No.
And for me, would I want like Chilwell and James can obviously play fullback, but I just feel they'd be wasted. Like there's so much more to them if they play a bit further up the pitch in a wing back role. So, and they're the kind of guys that like to get forward. You can guarantee that a lot of space will be left in behind. And then if centre backs go out and try and fill that space, you've got a massive gap to go through the middle. Yeah. So, I think we've kind of stumbled across this system based on the personnel we have. I'm not complaining about it, but it does make it a little bit difficult to switch things up because I don't think a lot of these players are perhaps suited to a different system. But I don't think we can complain too much. To be honest, like Tuchel's not even been here a year yet. You look at the likes of Pep, Klopp, etc. Pep Guardiola didn't win the Premier League in his first full season at Man City. So I mean, look, we want to win the league this season, but it's a big ask to sort of for Tuchel to win the league in his first year in the job, like first full season.
Yeah, he won the Champions League, didn't he, last season?
Exactly.
To then go and win the Premier League the next season. We would all be like, wow, what is this guy? Let's sign him a new deal forever.
It is a big ask. But look, the league's not completely gone. Am I confident we're going to win it? Probably not. We're going to need to pick up maximum points in the next couple of games, Villa and Brighton. And then realistically, I can't see Liverpool or City dropping points in their next couple of games with how relentless they're looking. We're going to be looking at having to beat Liverpool and City at the start of January. Can we do it? Yes. Yeah. Is it likely on current form? You'd say no, but the picture could be so different by January. Worst case scenario, it could be behind closed doors, which we hope it's not. But there's a possibility that could be the case. We should have a lot more of our players back, hopefully. So you just never know. But it's been a disappointing kind of blip, and the first real blip under Thomas Tuchel that we've had, because we've had it really good since he's come in. But it's just a case of have we got the mentality within the squad to drag ourselves out of this? Because I mean, managers have criticised the mentality of this players. Well, I know all the personnel aren't the same, but Conte criticised. I mean, Mourinho's talked about mentality at Chelsea. Conte has, Sarri has, even Lampard questioned it as well, and Tuchel did kind of question it a bit. This is 4 or 5. Top managers that are questioning the mentality. Do you feel do you think there's a mentality issue within the squad at all? Or do you just think that's perhaps an ironic coincidence that sort of 4 or 5 managers have all sort of said the same thing?
I think the first manager that says it, you kind of have to question it. When the second manager, then you have to start listening. And when it comes to 5 managers in a row saying it, I think you have to say, I think they're onto something. They're with the players every day. I know it's easy to say once you start slipping up matches to then go, the mentality is not there. Right now, we have got a very young squad as well. Yeah. Well, we've not got a really young squad, but we've got a few players that obviously Lampard brought in, and he's moulded into being first team players and things like that. But around the squad, there's still players that was there when back in the day. I'm not picking on Alonso, but Alonso's been here a good few years. The last Clutter has as well. I wouldn't question his mentality, but it's been the case of he's been there all that time, and the mentality kind of question marks have been there with all of them. Where you have to start listening to it and going, we must have something there. Whether it's just when we really need to dig in. I think back in the day, the 2012, that era kind of team and squad before that, under Mourinho and 04, 05 and things like that, that mentality wouldn't have been questioned, because I think a lot of captains in that side and a lot of players would have dug in and got points and wins when we shouldn't have. Remembering Mourinho's first season, a lot of the time we didn't look that great, but the mentality kind of got us over the line, would get them 1-0 wins, and that's what kind of you need to win league titles, is not play well and still get the 3 points and move on to the next one. Like the Everton and Wolves games, they're perfect examples of where back in the day we would have won them 1-0, even playing even worse than what we played. We didn't play particularly well in either games, but I think we would have played even worse under Mourinho and still got the 3 points, if you know what I mean. And that's something that needs to be needs to happen for us to really challenge for a title is keep winning these points even when we don't play well. We can't just keep playing well and
just need a bit more resilience. That resilience is there because we've seen it. We've seen it last season in the run to the Champions League final. That resilience is there. We've seen it at the start of the season, up until this month. Really, that has been there. We just got to kind of try and rediscover it, and we definitely can. But it's a slightly worrying trend with managers, and every time we get to December as well, things seem to kind of fall apart a little bit. But we definitely got the quality of playing staff and quality of manager and coaching staff to get us through this. But at the moment, you can't really see where the next win's coming from. And that does sound like a really odd thing to say as a fan of Chelsea, where you're not sure where your next win's coming from. But it's quite tough. I mean, I don't feel particularly confident going to Aston Villa away on Boxing Day. You know, we lost there last season. Ultimately, it didn't matter because we won the Champions League in the end. But we did lose there, and we only finished top 4 in the league because Leicester lost. So it's a tough place to go, Villa Park. I wouldn't feel particularly confident going there. But we definitely we can definitely turn this round. But yeah, you can't. I suppose you can't. You've got to be balanced, and you can't ignore kind of the trends that we are seeing at Chelsea in December and kind of mentality wise. But yeah, look, let's hope for the best that we're gonna push on and put these kind of poor results behind us. But Scott, I just wanted to move forward to this week. Obviously, we got Brentford in the Carabao Cup quarter-final tomorrow away from home. A lot of kind of academy players or players from the development side, under 23s or whatever they call it these days, were involved in first team training yesterday. Obviously, some of those numbers would have been because I guess the starting 11 would have had a day off yesterday after the Wolves on Sunday. Of the players that trained with the first team, how many of those are you expecting to be involved on Wednesday night potentially? Who should we be looking out for? Obviously, Harvey Vale was one that a few fans might be aware of. He was on the bench against Southampton in the Carabao Cup, and he was on the bench against Malmo away as well. Who should we be looking out for that has got a real chance of actually playing on Wednesday night?
Right. Well, I got told last night, back end of last night, that kind of squad of players is kind of getting trimmed down today because the starters of Sunday will be back outside today to train. So a lot of that will be trimmed down. I don't know who the players are yet that are going to be sticking around, and by the end of today, we'll probably know who them 3 or 4 players are that are going to get a chance. Harvey Vale, yes, definitely. That's one that I've picked out for a good few months of the player that I think he's going to be the next player. A lot of people ask me that, who's going to be the next one to come and get a chance, and he's the one that's done well all season, and I think the club really needs to prove to him that his chance is going to come here because he's only got 18 months left in his contract. Nobody wants it to go to 12 months in the summer, and he's not really got a chance. And then what happens? Does he do what Livramento and Simeon and Luis Bate did and leave? So I think he has got to get a chance, and he's got to be proven that he can get a chance here. So and he's done enough to deserve it, if you know what I mean as well. It's not like, oh, let's just throw all our chips at him and give him a chance because his contract's running out. He's a really good player, and he's somebody that can play just behind the striker, and he can really pick out a pass. He's got an eye for goal, but at the same time he's chipped in with playing in different roles, where playing like left wing back and things like that, and still done a really good job. It's not his ideal role, obviously, but when we have got a bit of an issue at left wing back and Alonso needs a rest, Saul's not really look comfortable there. If you're going to look and rotate, Harvey Vale is somebody that you can look at playing left wing back, and he'll do it at a good level. I'm not going to say it's his best role and he's going to do it perfectly. Do you know what I mean? But he can do it in a good role, and he'll really chip in and do well. There's Brian Fiabeamer and Jay Wareham, Wareham came in the summer. He just signed from Wrexham. He's been doing all right. So one of them two is a possibility of being on the bench, and because they're both strikers, we've got a bit of a lack of strikers. So one of them I'm expecting to be on the bench. And then there's Lewis Baker. A lot of people obviously already know him. He's been around.
He's been here for years, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's now 26, 27, but he's a midfielder where we kind of lacking with Loftus-Cheek now out with COVID. There's Kante that just played 90 minutes. Does he really want to play him again? Kovacic, he probably rushed him back and had to play him for a full. So there's somebody that probably needs to be on the bench. It's either him or Xavier Simmons that could play midfield. Them two that I'd probably look out for. Lewis Hall. Lewis Hall could play midfield, and then there's obviously Amber in defence that could get a chance. Them are the ones that I'm looking out for, that I expect. There's other players. There's Dion Rankin that's been doing really well for the development squad, but he's a right wing back, and if we're going to try and change it up at left wing back, do we change it up at right wing back? I know this is the League Cup, and we probably should change it up because we've got Aston Villa and we've not been playing well, and we need to keep it fresh. But I don't think Tuchel will completely change the whole 11. Do you know what I mean? And start
it's at the end of the day, it's a cup quarter final as well. You know, you win this and it's a semi final, and you know you're in touching distance of a day out at Wembley. So you know, and you want to win. You want to win all the trophies that are available to you. So I mean, just had a quick question come in. I mean, we've seen Klopp do this in the past. Do you think there's any chance that Lyles tactically lose against Brentford so we can drop out and focus on the league? Do you think there's any chance that, you know, it'll be heavily rotated, and in a sort of chance that, you know, that we don't really want to be going through because it's another game, or do you not buy into that?
I don't think Tuchel will do that. I think he will rotate a little bit, and he will keep an eye on the Aston Villa game because that is the bigger one. Yes, but at the same time, he knows he's came here to win trophies. He knows the Chelsea mentality. He knows winning is winning, and that's what he goes into every game to go and do. I don't think he'll look to just throw in the towel kind of thing. Yes, he might rotate a little bit, but I still think even if he rotates, there's people like Ross Barkley and Malang Sarr. There's players that want to play and really prove themselves. That no, I don't think he'll completely throw in the towel. I get what you mean, kind of thing, but Chelsea wants to win, and Tuchel will know that this is, as you say, it's one win away from being so close to being at Wembley and things like that. And I think this squad needs to keep winning, even if it's small little trophies. Do you know what I mean? Just get used to this, because over the last 3 or 4 years, we've not been as consistently winning trophies as in like league titles and things like that, and just getting back that DNA of winning trophy after trophy after trophy, and end of season you always got a trophy in your bag, that kind of mentality to get to hopefully push for the Premier League. If we can't do it this season, you know, next season, if we've got another couple of trophies in our bag, I think a lot of the players will be able to be comfortable in big games. You know, getting over that Champions League final was a massive one, because only a month before we was losing against Leicester in the FA Cup final. Yeah. It felt like every time we got to a final, this team just didn't have that little bit to get over the line. But we did it in the Champions League, and I think we need to keep doing it. You know, winning these games when a lot of pressure's on them. FA Cup finals and League Cup finals. I know it's not the massive trophy, but just getting it, and for these players, it'll be a massive thing. A lot of the youngsters will still take it as a real big win. It's
a big win, and it was the first trophy we won when Mourinho came in all those years ago. He placed a real big importance on it, and I think it is important, and it gives you that confidence heading into the business end of the season. You've got one in the bag. All right, let's go again. Let's get another one. Obviously, you touched on those guys as really the ones that are probably going to either maybe one might start or definitely be on the bench. I presume then that obviously those guys are also kind of the next ones that we should be looking out for in terms of coming through and maybe being in the first team squad next season. Potentially, obviously, we've got guys out on loan. I mean, I just wanted to touch on a couple of guys out on loan. I mean, do you feel that next season that there's an opportunity for Colwell at Huddersfield to potentially play in a squad? And also just a few thoughts on Ian Maatson as well at Coventry, who's doing really well.
Yeah, both of the right at the top of the list for me, for getting a chance maybe next season. I think Nathan Baxter as well, a goalkeeper, proving himself now in the Championship. He's worked his way from non-league football at 17. A lot of Chelsea fans probably don't know him because he won the FA Youth Cup and then left on loan at 17 and has worked his way all the way up the league. So he's now at a place where he's really showing himself. He's kind of proved himself at every level, and now at the Championship level, where a lot of fans won't know much about him, but he's a very good goalkeeper that he could easily come back into the squad. But yeah, Ian Maatson, Levi Colwell, but both of them have got really big chances and good chances to get into the side. But at the same time, Chelsea sell Marcos Alonso, Antonio Rudiger goes. Do Chelsea go and buy a player for 60, 70 million? And then where does the chance come? Do you know what I mean? If Chelsea go out and buy a 20 million backup or bring Emerson back as a backup for left wing back, then it's hard for Maatsen. It's all a guessing game right now. He's got to just keep playing as he's doing. He's doing really well. Both of them are doing really well, Levi Colwell and Maatsen. But pre-season, you've got to prove it again to Tuchel and take that chance like Trevor Chalobah did, because I don't think he would have expected he'd stay around, but things happened. Koundé didn't happen, and he's got his chance, and that's kind of what you need to happen as well. Chips need to fall into place just to get that little bit of a chance. Even if he does really well, even like Gallagher and Gilmore, they're doing really well in the Premier League, and you think these guys are ready for that level, and then you think if Chelsea go and buy a Declan Rice or a Tchouaméni, do you know what I mean? How do they get into the side? It's very hard to pick out a player and just say, yeah, they're going to get a chance because this is Chelsea and we can go out and spend 60 million on a new player and they're probably going to get priority of playing. And rightly so, because if you put out a lot of money on a player, you want to make sure he does well at your club, don't you? You don't want to sit him on the bench and play an 18, 19-year-old who's just played in the Championship. But they're doing the right things, and they both got the right quality to really make it here. But there's a lot of luck into it, because they both could end up going out on loan in the Premier League next season and not doing well, and then people question them.
Yeah,
there's Amando Broja that's doing well at Southampton, and the other bit is they've gone out and played 30, 40 games on loan. Are they happy coming back to the Premier League? Yes, playing with Chelsea. Yes, they want to. Their end goal is probably to play with Chelsea, but at the same time, they've really had a taste of playing week in, week out. Really love playing football, winning games, and then to take that away from them, to say you probably won't make the bench 9 times out of 10, and you probably play a Carabao Cup game. It's very hard for these players to go, yeah, I'm all in, and I'll just sit here and wait for my chance. Do you know what I mean? A lot of them have got that hunger, but at the same time, the footballers, and they want to play football. They've lived for this dream of playing football, and it's hard to then just sit around and be a backup player. So it's a very hard game. It's a very, very hard game for Chelsea and the players to make these right decisions and know when to keep them around and when to send them on loan. But they're both doing really well.
You've got so many exciting players that could easily feature in the squad next season. You know, I can't wait to see Conor Gallagher potentially get a chance. But as you said, you know, Declan Rice comes in. All right, Conor Gallagher joins back up in the squad. How many games is he really going to play? You know, you've got Jorginho, Kovacic, Kante, and say a Rice or a Tchouaméni. Well, where does Conor Gallagher fit in?
Yeah, there's still Ruben Loftus-Cheek.
There's Ruben as well.
There's players that you kind of forget about that you've even got. I know nobody really wants to remember, like we've got Bakayoko.
He's still there,
We've got Ampadu. We've got there's players. There's a list of players that Chelsea have got at their disposal, and there's academy players that are pushing for them chances as well. Do you know what I mean?
Spoiled for choice.
And they don't want to just focus on the loan players and just think, oh, I'll buy players. There's still the academy. What we've had success with bringing players through that you want to keep an eye out on them as well. So it's a very hard juggling game to make sure you sign in the right players that fit, but then not stagnating a player's chance of playing and losing them potentially on a transfer, and then seeing them do really well. Because I'm sure Chelsea are looking at Mark Guehi and Tino Livramento and Fikayo Tomori and Tammy Abraham and saying, yes, we got the money and yes, we could bring them back and things like that. But at the same time, I'm sure a few coaches and academy people are looking and thinking these players could do a job for us. We might not have needed to sign a defender if we had Guehi and Tomori still in the squad and things like that. So it's very hard. It's a very hard game to get a 25-man squad and make it competitive to win the title, but not stagnate these players that do come back and want a chance and deserve a chance.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, I think for me, the ones leaving, Tomori was the most disappointing. For me, I was really disappointed to see him go, particularly for the money he went for as well. I mean, it was an absolute steal. And ironically, Livramento obviously wanted to keep him at the club. He obviously left because he wanted to play. As how things have turned out, he probably would have played quite a lot this season with Chilwell's injury. Now he would have had probably quite a decent run in the side. But it's kind of just the way things go. We've obviously got a buyback clause on him, I think, active not next year from 2023. So we could bring him back. But yeah, it's a shame that you understand, though, as you said, like these players want to go and play. You want to play week, they're good enough. Livramento good enough to play week in, week out in the Premier League. He's not going to do that at Chelsea. But I suppose you could almost look at it as a 2-year loan to Southampton potentially. And then if he's still doing well, then we could be bringing him back. But Scott, having followed youth football for a long time now, how pleased are you that Chelsea are now kind of reaping the rewards of Cobham, the academy? We've touched on so many. We've got Mount, Reece James, Hudson-Odoi, Loftus-Cheek. Those guys have come through the academy and are kind of playing regular first-team football at the moment. And then you see the likes of Conor Gallagher on loan doing really well, Billy Gilmore, and then some of the other younger guys that we touched upon. I mean, for a long time, though, I suppose a lot of people kind of losing faith in the academy, see Chelsea winning all these FA Youth Cups, obviously winning UEFA Youth Leagues, etc., and then seeing no one come through. I mean, how pleasing is it now that we are seeing that? And how difficult was it having followed youth football for a number of years where just no one was making the cut?
Yeah, I'm delighted to put it really in short terms because I lost faith. I won't lie. I tried to keep a confident face on Twitter and social media, and these players are good enough, and a lot of fans kind of decided because the club wasn't giving them a chance, they're not good enough, and they've proven that they are good enough. It's just you've got to give them time, and you've got to put the effort to understand that these players are going to make mistakes. Is Mason Mount and Reece James up to the level where they want to be in 3-4 years? No, they're probably going to keep getting better and better, and that's something that you've got to accept but be happy about, because these are not finished articles. These are players that are only going to get better if you keep giving them chances and keep building a squad around them. You've got players there what you've just saved a lot of money on, because nobody wants to see us sign a 20-30 million player that doesn't play. I'm not going to mention names. I'm sure a lot of you will know the names I'm kind of mentioning, but these players kind of save you the money so you can go and buy a Lukaku and not feel it hit your purse, because we've kind of just made the money on selling youngsters in the academy. Yes, we might make mistakes, and in a few years we might think, oh God, why did we sell XYZ for that kind of money, like we kind of do with De Bruyne and Salah kind of ways. But at the same time, we've kind of signed a Lukaku that we kind of needed to break down these low block teams. Sadly, we've not been able to call upon him when we've needed him these last couple of months. But yeah, I'm delighted to get these players, see these players getting a chance, and a lot of Chelsea fans kind of starting to realise that these players are good enough and not just write them off. Because I remember in the summer, a lot of fans were saying Livramento needs to go out on loan, he needs to go to the Championship, he's not ready for Chelsea, and that might be the case. But at the same time, he's proven that he is Premiership level ready, and he is good enough if you give him the chance. I know playing him week in, week out at Chelsea, yes, it's a massive ask, but at the same time, he's proven over these last few weeks that if he was called upon, he would have probably done a really good job for us. And I hope a lot of Chelsea fans are starting to just realise that, yes, because they play in PL2 and it's under 23s and the level's not as good as the Premier League. That it's very hard, and I agree with that. It's a very hard ask to go from that level to first team level and play for Chelsea. But there is a lot of good players that is there ready to make the jump if we need it. And sometimes we don't need to go and spend 60, 70 million on a player when we've got the likes of Gallagher, Gilmore, as you say, Caldwell, Matteson, Broha. There's players in every position where you can have Vale. There's the Teddy Sharman, Lowen, goalkeeper, and Baxter and things like that. There's players around there that you can add to the squad and make it better, and then go and buy a player. That's what I've always wanted, is Chelsea to go and spend that money on a player that's going to make that first team 11 a lot better, and then add these players in to work the way up, work the way into the team, make it a lot better as a squad, instead of going and spending that silly money on a 20, 30 million player that's not going to sit around and sit on the bench, and then you're feeling like, why have we wasted all this money on there, and you've killed the chances of that youngster to get a chance in the team because you've gone out and spent 30 million on a player that's going to sit on the bench. So all in all, it's been a really good. Is it 18 months? No.
Yeah,
20,
pretty much. Yeah,
a bit more, isn't it? Because it's been a good journey to see players actually get a chance now. Because I started to question why do I keep watching all these youth games and really put all my time into seeing how these guys progress into the careers and then them stagnate and not get a chance. But they're actually, some of them are actually getting a chance now, and it's good to see.
Yeah, it's everywhere as well. It's not just in the Premier League; it's also in Serie A with Tomori and Tammy Abraham doing really well as well. I mean, it's arguably Cobham's probably right now the best academy in world football.
Yeah,
and you wouldn't have said that a few years ago. So it's definitely we're reaping the rewards of it. And long may it continue. There seems to be a conveyor belt coming through still, which is great. And obviously for fans, it's great to see players coming through the academy and make it to the first team. There's a bit more of a bond between players and fans, ones that have come through.
Yeah.
I do feel perhaps in the past, it's still the case now, maybe a little bit, but maybe not as much, that Chelsea managers, because you're under so much pressure, a couple of games where you lose, there's talk of your job. And for managers under pressure, it's much easier to go and spend money, say 30, 40 million pounds on a player, rather than thinking, can I trust someone from the youth team to come in when my job's on the line? So I think there's been a bit of that in the past. But now I think with likes of obviously Frank and with Thomas Tuchel as well, I don't think they're afraid to just chuck someone in, whereas I think previous managers probably have been.
The annoying thing about that, though, is when these academy players do get the chance most of the time, they're not the players that come off the pitch and you think they're the weak link, they were the problem, and they're the reason we lost. There's instances where, like, Nathaniel Chalobah, Trevor's brother, was playing for the first team, and Ola Aina, and there was coming on and there was doing bits and there was doing really well, and then they ended up signing Zappacosta and Drinkwater and Bakayoko, and there was a reason where the academy was so proud of them players being in the squad of a Premier League winning squad, and the academy felt like there was a real push, and then that happened, and it felt like the academy just went, right, there's a big massive gap of what this is and where these players are going to get a chance. So luckily now the players are getting the chance, and there feels like that bond between the academy and the first team is there again, and there's a connection, and there's people interacting between each camp, and which is a very good thing moving forward. But that's the thing. A lot of managers in the past felt like playing a player would instantly mean you'd lose and you'd get relegated. That was kind of the thing that I used to always get at. Do you want us to get relegated because X player would play one game in a nothing game? I remember mourning because Callum Hudson-Odoi didn't play in a Europa League game where we would already top the group, and I was like, why can't you play in there? And a lot of people were saying, why play him? But these are the times where you got to give players chances, because it is very hard to give players chances. I understand that, but Now we're at least giving players chances in bigger games. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Instead of just looking at Carabao Cup games and going, that's only where they're going to play. They've been given chances under Lampard and Tuchel where Callum Hudson-Odoi played in Champions League games and things like that. Where back in the day, I don't think I would have been confident that
never would have happened.
You probably would have seen somebody experience like a Marcos Alonso attacking playing.
Yeah.
I remember when we had loads of injuries and Mourinho went to Old Trafford and played Schürrle up front, and we had a youngster on the bench. I can't remember who it was at the time. I'll definitely look into it. But them excuses of I can't play him and seems to have gone a bit, which is nice to see.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. I mean, just lastly on that, are you surprised that we haven't filled the bench in recent games with academy players? Like, for example, we could have filled a couple of more spaces on the bench against Wolves. Like, that could have been some more good experience for Harvey Vale, potentially, who's looking like the next one knocking on the door. Do you think is that disappointing to see the whole bench not being filled when we could give a youngster an opportunity, not necessarily to play, but just to experience what it's like?
Yeah, at the time I was really unhappy, and then the more time I've thought about it, the more time I've gone, maybe Tuchel's looking at it and going, we're getting COVID cases after COVID cases, positive after positive. And is it good to go and bring in an 18, 19-year-old that's potentially, this is their time where they get off Christmas. The academy kind of football kind of stops the weekend. That Saturday was supposed to be, Friday and Saturday was supposed to be their last academy games of the year, and then they'd have a Christmas off. So in their heads, they were probably just potentially just having the Christmas off, and to then say, come and join us where we're getting positive COVID cases, come and join this squad, and where we've not got a handle on this academy. I mean, this squad not getting positive cases. Do you know what I mean? Would it have been a silly idea to then start adding players to the squad? I know now we've added players to the squad. I'm happy about that, and so I'm happy now when I'm gonna accept that maybe it wasn't the right decision, because at the same time I don't want these players to cut short their holidays to come around and then sit on the bench and Tuchel never have any idea of who they are or any plans to play them. At the same time, it's a good experience and things like that, but at the same time, does it damage them where they think, am I just being used to fill up a squad, up a bench and never be really used? That's what I've seen in the past. Players get put on the bench under Mourinho, and he'd never really have an idea of ever playing them. He would always have his three in his mind that he'd play. So it's good now that they're in the squad, and hopefully they'll get on the bench tomorrow and Tuchel will look at them. But at the same time, we was getting COVID cases, and I thought about it and slept on it, and I thought, we're getting COVID cases. They probably worked out the best way and thought, let's try and get this in order. Let's wait until we're all back at Cobham and we've got a couple of days to get tests done and things like that. And you can get tests done. The players that have had a few days off, these academy players that have joined up, they've had time to get tests and they're not joining with positive and getting players. So now I've slept on it. I think we've done it the right way. Yes, in hindsight, I'd love to have one of them players on the bench, but they probably wouldn't have trained with the team. Would Tuchel would he have brought on a Fiabima in the last couple of minutes with him not training with all the players instead of bringing off Pulisic? What would the fan base say? They're probably more on why you're bringing off Pulisic at the same time. At least this Brentford game, it's a Carabao Cup game where if we get 1 or 2-0 up, hopefully, or there's more chances of him bringing somebody on. Do you know what I mean? A Carabao Cup game, and this is the time where I think he needs to fill his squad with at least putting him on the bench, because if he doesn't now, then what is it going to show to them academy players that go to go and have a break now for Christmas and sat around the table with the families and they're all saying, you didn't get a chance when the squad's at 12 or 13. Then questions will happen, but this is a really nice thing for these players to go away, and hopefully they'll be sat around at Christmas time with the families and going, I got a chance to sit on the bench and maybe come on. So there's the positives to COVID cases, isn't there? And this is one of them, that these players are going to get a little bit more known, and hopefully maybe one of them will get a chance off the bench.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, that seems like a good place to wrap up then. Scott, before we go, where's the best place for people to check you out and sort of look at your work, etc. as well?
Well, yeah, Carefree Youth, as it says here. Yeah, I'm on my computer, so that's why it's that. Usually it would say Scott Clayton, and that wasn't just me doing. Yeah, I work for Football London doing Chelsea Fan Brands editor, and we do a lot of content around Chelsea and just being fans and getting our opinions and voices across of anything that's talking. So come and join us on that. We try to be as in the middle and speak our minds and be them fans that people want to listen to and read about. We try to keep it real and not be like journalists, if you know what I mean, and try and speak as fans, but not be a bit over the top, as other fan bases have, things like that. But yeah. So yeah, Football London is where you can check out my written work. But Carefree Youth on Twitter, I'm sure a lot of you know me over the years. Hopefully.
Yeah, no, perfect. I've linked both those in the description below, guys, so make sure you go and check those out and give Scott a follow on Twitter. That brings up full time on another episode of the podcast, the last one before Christmas. So guys, everyone that's listened to the podcast, hope you have a great Christmas. If you've tuned in live on YouTube, thanks for watching. Please do smash a like on the video. Please subscribe to the channel as well. I really appreciate all of your support, so make sure you do that. And we'll catch you in the episode next week. Scott, thanks so much for your time. Thanks so much for joining me, guys, and we'll catch you soon.